Yes! In this video, we will be going over the 10 best blue units that are currently having the strongest impact in the meta game. For this list, Legends Limited characters will be considered at 3 stars, and all other units will be considered at 7 stars. As always, non-Zenkai units will also be considered at 3 and 6 stars to weigh in on how useful they are. And at number 10, we have Zenkai 7 Final Form Cooler. This unit is an oppressive powerhouse with fantastic stats. He helps his team, LOE, run like a well-oiled machine as he buffs them whenever he switches to standby. Furthermore, he has very good ki control, which allows him to consistently keep up with his combos as long as he has cards in his hand. When he enters the battle, if there is another Lineage of Evil unit alive on his team, he increases his damage, reduces card costs, and increases his ki recovery by 50%. His green card transforms his blast cards into strike arts cards, which have blast armor, while also stacking damage. This is important because each time he uses a strike card, he increases the damage the opposing unit receives by 10% per hit, and reduces how much health they restore by 20% per hit. This allows you to stack damage and stack debuffs that help increase the damage this unit deals. His main ability draws him an ultimate card, restores his own ki by 30, and reduces the damage he would receive by 25% for 30 timer counts. When used, his ultimate card increases its damage by 40%, draws a special arts card when it hits, and has blast armor when charging forward. Although Cooler is a monster of a unit, if he is the last man standing, he often struggles to bring the fight back as he needs other team members alive to keep all of his buffs. He also struggles a bit if Legends Limited Frieza dies, as he loses additional buffs. Despite Cooler's decent defense, it pales in comparison to the amount of damage the meta can currently deal. Therefore, though he can survive a single combo, he would probably die from a second. Though his green card is stackable, it can also be cancelled. Furthermore, though Cooler is the strongest unit on the Lineage of Evil tag and is brought into the battle in almost every single match, the team isn't meta relevant right now. In a vacuum, Cooler is a fantastic unit, but team composition matters, and LOE isn't doing him any favors at the moment, as other teams support their blue units much more effectively. Nevertheless, Cooler does see minor competitive play in the top 100 players in PvP, earning him the 10th spot on this list. And at number 9, we have Legends Limited Super Saiyan Broly Full Power. This unit's stats are pretty good, even at 2 stars. Basically, if Broly exists, he buffs himself. As Broly famously once said on the DBL loading screen, he also has a lot of blast armor, except on his blast cards, which, in my opinion, is a missed opportunity. Furthermore, each time the opponent switches their character while Broly is on the battlefield, he restores his health up to 5 times, increases his overall damage, increases his card draw speed by 1 level, and restores 50% of his vanish gauge. Yes, that was because of one switch. He also reduces damage he receives by 40% if he cover changes, and if he cover changes against a strike arts card, he knocks the opponent back and can chain it with a blue card. Speaking of blue cards, his blue card has a 30% chance to inflict feint, adding insult to injury. His green card is also quite scary as it increases his ki, his card draw speed by 1, and reduces the overall damage he takes if put into a combo. His main ability grants him an ult card, health restoration, ki, the removal of all debuffs, and the ability to ignore cover chain skills for 15 timer counts, guaranteeing that he will not be stopped by almost anything the opponent may try to do. To top it off, his ultimate is a legendary finish that increases its own damage, nullifies cover change defense buffs, and can switch the opposing unit. Unfortunately, Broly's defense is not great and he can easily die to a single combo if he did not activate a green card prior. He also has such piss poor ki recovery in some aspects that you may find yourself dropping your combo even with a full hand of cards. He is mainly a bench unit on all of the relevant teams he's a part of, and he doesn't buff a more meta-relevant tag until he reaches 3 stars. Regardless, you can find him in Saiyans, Super Saiyans, sagas from the movies, and powerful opponent teams. Unfortunately, he really only sees play in powerful opponents, which is the least relevant tag out of the 4 at the current moment. However, he still sees core play on the other tags, but much less frequently. He is seen being used in the top 100 players of every season since his release, thus earning the number 9 spot on this list. And at number 8, we have Legends Limited Majin Vegeta. Before this unit's transformation, he has decent stats and a decent neutral game with his green card, which allows him to stall the timer counts until he can transform. When he transforms, he can remove debuffs and restore his health, and after his transformation, Vegeta is really good. I would have swore here, but I felt YouTube might hit me. His green card is one of the best in the game as it draws him a card, can be comboed with a strike, blast, or blue card, and is hard to dodge if used correctly. His main ability allows him to ignore cover change skills for 10 timer counts, and prior to using his main ability a second time, his blue card deals damage equivalent to a Zenkai, and after which it surpasses Zenkai damage. Furthermore, his blue card deals extra damage to regen, has blast armor and cover cut, and nullifies restore from 0 health effects. His blast card reduces the opponent's ki by 30 when it hits. He can hold a strike arts card that, when used by any unit, will heal their health by 5%. Furthermore, he buffs the Saiyan tag at 2 stars and gains damage buffs and extra damage against Goku characters. He can also protect himself from abnormal conditions up to 3 times when the battle starts, and he buffs himself each time the opponent uses a card while he is on the battlefield. To top it off, his second main ability adds him a blue card, restores his ki, buffs his next blue card's damage by a whopping 100%, and nullifies all special actions for 10 timer counts, meaning the opponent cannot cover change to revert the combat loop to neutral. Unfortunately, he has been replaced on the majority of his teams. Until he transforms, he is prone to being killed off quite quickly, especially at lower stars, and he doesn't have card draw speed, which severely limits his combo potential, despite the amount of damage he can deal. Regardless, he fits on Vegeta family, Saiyans, Super Saiyans, and blue color counter teams. He mainly finds himself on the latter 3, having been replaced by Zenkai 7 Super Saiyan 2 Trunks on Vegeta family, although this is not always the case. Overall, this unit has been seen in the top 100 players of every season since his release, earning himself the number 8 spot on this list. Before we get to our number 6 and 7 spot on this list, I just want to mention that these units are so close in versatility and power that their positions are interchangeable. And at number 7, we have Toppo. Even at 3 stars, this unit is a solid defensive unit when cover changing. His green card restores his ki, while also buffing his team's strike damage, and when he enters the battle, he increases his own damage. When the opponent finishes a combo, Toppo gains increased damage, card cost reduction, reduction of opponent's ki, and even further damage. Furthermore, if his health would be reduced to 0, he comes back with 30% health, making him a great Rising Rush tank. He draws an alt card that, once activated, blocks all of the opponent's units, preventing them from switching. To top it off, his main ability heals his team, increases their damage, restores ki, and reduces their substitution count by 5 if they are a blue unit or part of the rival universe tag. Unfortunately, Toppo doesn't double buff his team until 6 stars. He tends to take a lot of damage really quickly if he isn't cover changing, and he is part of a team that doesn't have enough relevant units to make him better as a whole. Furthermore, his stats are quite low and can hold him back at times. It also doesn't help that his buffs can be cancelled. Toppo is a core unit on the rival universe team and consistently sees play in that team. He also sees play with Android 18 and Vados in an unconventional team that strangely works. He has been seen within the top 100 players of every season since his release, earning him the number 7 spot on this list. And at number 6, we have Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Vegito, otherwise known as Super Saiyan Blue Vegito. This unit can string long combos and restores a bit of ki each time he uses a Strike Arts card. Furthermore, his Strike Arts card has blast armor, ensuring that he stays mostly uninterrupted. He can nullify health restoration by 100% for 3 timer counts each time he lands a Strike Arts card, and his green card can be comboed with any other card, while also debuffing the opponent, making his damage increase as a result. When this unit enters the battlefield, he permanently increases his damage by 50%, reduces damage by 30% for 15 timer counts, protects himself from debuffs for 15 timer counts, and draws a green card. If this unit cover changes when the opponent uses a Blast Arts card, he can knock them back to neutral. If he holds a blue card, he can chain it to his cover change. His blue card locks the opponent in so that they cannot switch, ensuring damage or a potential KO, and he gains a permanent buff against fusion warriors. Depending on the style of fighter, he buffs himself accordingly. For example, against a melee fighter, he will buff strike damage, and against a ranged fighter, he will buff his blast damage. His main ability heals him by 20%, increases ki by 50%, increases damage by 40%, reduces damage by 20%, and destroys one card in his hand to add his ultimate card. To top it off, his ult card is a legendary finish, which increases its own damage by 50%, ignores cover change reduction damage, and also ignores any special actions the opponent would activate when cover changing. He also nullifies resurrection from death skills, ensuring that the unit is finished off. Unfortunately, Vegito's stats are on the lower end, meaning at low stars he won't perform as well as he could. He is very much a glass cannon, meaning he will not survive a combo if caught, and he needs to be 6 stars before he buffs all of his relevant teams. He finds himself often on Future, God Key, and Fusion Warrior teams. Recently, you will only find him on Fusion Warrior teams, as he has been replaced by Zenkai units on both Future and God Key. Regardless, this unit is still a very relevant substitute for those other teams, and he is still a force to be reckoned with. He has seen a strong amount of play in the top 100 players of every season since his release, thus earning the number 6 spot on this list. And at number 5, we have Zenkai 7 Super Saiyan 2 Trunks. This unit should have been higher on this list, because of his overwhelmingly positive performance in this and last season. However, we don't have enough stats from multiple seasons to reasonably place him higher on this list without major bias. With that being said, Trunks has solid overall stats, meaning that he puts in a ton of work both offensively and defensively. His main ability draws him a blue card, restores 70 ki, increases the damage of all his allies by 30% for 30 timer counts, and removes debuffs from his team. He buffs both Future and Hybrid Saiyans, and when he enters the battle, he gains 50% blast damage which cannot be stacked. When he is switched to standby, he restores 10% health, and when he dodges, he regains 30 ki and shortens all allies' substitution counts by 2, which can activate for a total of 3 times. Furthermore, he has a solid crisis kit if he is the last unit standing, in which the damage buffs cannot be cancelled. He can increase his card draw speed by 1 level after the enemy is done landing attacks on him, while reducing card arts costs and removing debuffs from himself 3 times. If he is paired with another Future or Hybrid unit, he increases his overall damage by 50% when he enters the battle, and reduces damage by 20%. He can also shorten his own substitution count by 1 each time another ally is hit with a strike or blast card, which can activate 10 times in total. His Strike Arts card has a 50% chance to inflict bleed to the opponent. To top it off, his green card heals him for 10% and increases his damage by 25%. Unfortunately, Trunks cannot activate all of his buffs unless he's playing with at least one other Future or Hybrid unit. Some of his abilities are limited in activation, thus slowing down the team if the game is still ongoing once the skills are depleted. His Z ability is a single buff that only covers blast defense, and it would have been better if this were a double buff instead. He fits on Future, Hybrids, and Vegeta family teams, and he is the main blue unit on all 3 teams, though he is sometimes replaced by Majin Vegeta in Vegeta family teams. He saw a ton of competitive play in the top 100 players of this and last season, and would have ranked higher if we had more data on his performance in the meta. Nonetheless, he deserves at least to be number 5 on this list. And at number 4, we have Zenkai 7 Android 21. This unit is entirely free to play, so if you cleared and grinded the event, you should have this unit at max stars. Her defensive stats are impressive for a Zenkai, let alone a free-to-play Zenkai unit. And she is a team player, increasing the damage her allies can deal by 20% when she enters the battle. Furthermore, she can restore 25 ki each time she switches to standby, and she applies unique buffs to her teammates depending on the type of tag they are associated with. For example, androids get a 20 cost reduction on their blue cards, while regen gains 50% ki recovery. Female warriors gain a 30% damage increase, and transforming warriors gain a 5 cost reduction to blast cards. All of these effects last for 15 timer counts. She also debuffs the opponent to increase her own damage and reduces health restoration each time she lands an arts card. When she dies, she restores her allies' health by 20%, protects them from debuffs once each, and increases the Rising Rush meter by 2 Dragon Balls. At the start of the game, for 60 timer counts, she can increase the damage of blue cards for android units, which cannot be cancelled, increase the damage regen units deal by 15%, which cannot be cancelled, and increase her own arts card draw speed by 1 level, which cannot be cancelled. If that wasn't enough, her main ability increases her damage by 30%. She reduces damage she receives by 20%, and also reduces damage cut effects by 30% for her allies for 60 timer counts. Since this unit is mainly seen on teams such as Regen, Android, and Female Warriors, it's great that her Z ability also buffs all 3 tags, and her abilities synergize well with them all. To top it off, she has an amazing green card that, when it hits, she draws 1 new card, restores her ki by 40, decreases the cost of her strike and blast cards, and can combo it with a strike, blast, or green card, ensuring long combos if not interrupted. Her only real problem is that units that cannot be debuffed can stop her from doing the insane amount of damage that she usually deals. The meta teams you can find her on are Androids, Regeneration, and Girls, and she is a core and main blue unit on each team. Her impressive team-wide buffs, strong damage, and impressive defense makes her completely deserving of the number 4 spot on this list. And at number 3, we have Zenkai 7 Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Goku, also known as Super Saiyan Blue Goku. This unit's stats are impressive right off the bat, and he has good defense. He is a great starting unit, and he is able to deal good damage, which scales more and more as the fight progresses. His Z ability double buffs God Ki, making him extra valuable, and he gains extra skills as the fight goes on, making him an amazing unit after 50 timer counts. He is a fantastic defensive unit for the first 45 timer counts, while being immune to debuffs. Even after 45 timer counts, he switches to a more offensive role, buffing his total damage by 15% and his blast damage by 15%, both of which cannot be cancelled. Each time he lands a strike or blast attack, he restores ki by 5, and he increases his allies' damage by 10% for 15 timer counts. This stacks, meaning the damage can scale quite dramatically. When he enters the battlefield, he buffs his damage by 15%, which cannot be cancelled. His main ability draws him an ult card that hits like a Thomas the Tank Engine train set, Choo Choo, meaning it packs some serious choo choo power, as well as restores his ki by 30 and restores his vanishing gauge by 100%. Thus, he becomes harder to catch in a combo. To top it off, his green card is a great benefit as it restores 10% of his health, restores 30 ki, and increases his damage by 20% for 20 timer counts. Unfortunately, Goku takes a bit of time before he truly becomes a powerhouse. And even as a powerhouse, he drops his defense a bit, making him just a tad easier to beat. This unit really only sees play in blue color counter teams and God Ki. He is the main blue unit on God Ki, flat out replacing Vegito Blue, as he is simply superior in terms of damage and defense. Overall, this unit is seen in every God Ki team in the top 100 players of every season since his Zenkai's release. He even sees play in blue color counter teams and Saiyan teams in the top 100 players, solidifying his spot at number 3. And at number 2, we have Legends Limited Angie Goku. I'm not apologizing for the cringe. This unit's base stats are more than adequate and are nothing to scoff at once transformed. He has 2 uniques that once he transforms, they become better. So let's go over 2 of them right now. The first unique allows him to get stronger the longer he stays on the battlefield. The second reduces the damage he takes for 10 timer counts when he enters the battlefield, restores ki when he dodges, and restores his health by 50% when his allies are defeated. His main ability transforms him into a Super Saiyajin, restores his ki by 50, and increases his damage by 30% for the rest of the game, which cannot be cancelled. This, in turn, also buffs his first 2 passives. After transformation, he gains a 50% blast damage buff when his allies are defeated, and he can buff himself to greater heights the longer he stays on the field. His second unique gets the added effect of restoring ki when he dodges, and drawing a new card if he has 3 or fewer cards in hand. Furthermore, he restores his health by 50% when his allies are defeated, and reduces the cost of his blue card by 15 for the rest of the game, which cannot be cancelled, of course, because when do they not get not cancelled, you know? Once one ally is defeated, this unit gains a 20% damage buff and protects himself from abnormal conditions and attribute downgrades twice each. Finally, when this unit enters the battlefield, he restores 25 ki, increases his damage by 20%, and increases his blast damage by 15%. His Z ability is fantastic for both Saiyan and Super Saiyan teams, ensuring him a spot on both. His second main ability draws him a blue card, which is the main feature to this unit, restores 30 ki, decreases the cost of his strike and blast cards by 10 for 60 timer counts, and increases his ki recovery by 60% for 60 timer counts. This unit is also a great neutral position combatant. He is extremely powerful in the neutral game and usually takes the first combo between opponents. This is especially relevant considering a lot of units can die in a single combo. What helps this unit stay relevant in the neutral game is his green card, that increases his damage, restores his vanish gauge by 50%, forces the opponent to switch characters, and debuffs the opponent, allowing Angie Goku to deal more damage, thus helping him to better control the combat loop. To top it off, he has an insane blue card that helps control the combat loop, and allows him to auto-counter any enemy card arts used, meaning he will always take priority, with some exceptions. On top of this, he gains a whopping 70% extra damage upon activation, but only if it's activated as a counter. This is also his legendary finish, and nullifies effects that would allow a unit to revive from 0 if defeated. Goku's only true weakness is that until 15 timer counts pass, his control of the combat loop when at neutral is limited, and his damage and defense are lower until he transforms. As he is a core unit on Saiyans, Super Saiyans, Sun Fam, and blue color counter teams, he is relevant in the meta, while also proving to be a fantastic standalone unit, able to 1v3 opponents in a lot of different situations. That, and the fact that he sees insane amounts of representation within the top 100 players, earns Angie Goku the number 2 spot on this list. Before we reach our number 1 spot, let's look at a few honorable mentions. First up, Legends Limited Boo Kid was recently released, so although he is a fantastic unit, it's too soon to judge his placement in the meta, as we don't know how relevant he will be in the future. Transforming Gohan Adult would have made the list if I had released this video 2 weeks ago, but recent events have caused him to fall off the top 10. Finally, EX Android 14 is an amazing bench and core unit on blue color counter teams, but couldn't make the list due to the amount of amazing blue units in the game. And at number 1, we have Zenkai 7 Super Saiyan Bardock. This unit buffs himself the moment he enters the battlefield if there is another Super Saiyan on the team. He also buffs his team's damage and increases the crit rate by 30% and crit damage for his team by 70%. Essentially, his team becomes a field-wide nuke. Furthermore, Bardock increases his own damage each time an ally is hit by a strike, blast, or special move, meaning that he will be ready to inflict major damage upon tagging back in. When he enters the battlefield, he reduces the damage he takes by 20%. On top of that, once 50 timer counts pass, he gains 30% extra damage, increased card draw speed by 1 level, and 30% to his health restoration, all of which cannot be cancelled. If that wasn't enough, his main ability draws him a devastating ultimate card, increases the damage of his ultimate card by 40%, and increases his card draw speed by 1 level for 15 timer counts. When activated, his ultimate card restores his ki by 60 and restores his vanish gauge by 100%, ensuring that if he messes up, he can escape unscathed. Finally, his green card heals him by 10%, restores ki by 30, and clears attribute downgrades. Unfortunately, since he only buffs Super Saiyans, he is a bit more restrictive than other units. So until more relevant Super Saiyans get released, he can fall behind. However, with the rise of Zenkai 7, Super Gogeta, and other relevant Super Saiyans, this is no longer the problem it once was. Another minor caveat is that it takes 50 timer counts before he gets all of his buffs, but considering the fact that his team is an offensive and defensive juggernaut, this doesn't matter too much at the current time. You will see this unit on Saiyans, Super Saiyans, and blue color counter teams. He is the core unit on each team, always seeing play as he helps his allies thrive. Even when he doesn't buff everyone, the fact that he himself is an offensive powerhouse on his own is a testament to this unit's longevity. That and the fact that he sees tremendous play within the top 100 players more than justifies his placement as the number 1 unit on this list. So do you agree with this list? If you don't, comment down below and tell me what you think. Anyways, have yourselves a salty day. Don't forget to tickle the like button, and you haven't already, subscribe. And don't forget to click the bell for more notifications so you never miss another video. And I will see you in the next video. Mana mana, dun dun dun, ba da ba blah blah, Saitama!